a really good overview of the solution. But the key benefit of this solution as compared to a lot of other solutions in the market, because you can find POS solutions and you can find recipe management solutions and you can find accounting applications, but most companies in food and beverage end up with 3 or 4 different applications to run their business. And with LSNav, you run everything in a single application. So you do, like Rick said, you do your restaurant and kitchen operations management, you do your requisitions for your ingredients, and then you produce recipes, and that gives you your cost for the recipes and a true cost of goods sold, and then you purchase right in the system, and the receipt of those items brings that into inventory and creates a payable to pay your vendors. And then, of course, you've got your food now, and then you're going to sell those and serve guests and do your marketing and other things through mobile applications. So it's really, truly an all-in-one solution. And this kind of gives you a quick overview of, at the restaurant level or at the bakery level, the kinds of applications that we'll touch on today. So the idea that you'll have a mobile app for a customer and they might send out notifications or offers, or they could even order ahead and then come into the location and pick up an order. Maybe they want to order a cake or a dozen bagels or a dozen of the Rosetta, muffins, and they just want their order ready when they come in to pick it up, so they could order ahead on the app. Employees in the location can use mobile applications for like line busting, and those orders can be just somebody could walk a line and take an order and suspend orders, and then when the customer comes up to the counter, they would just then pay, so the order is already put in. We do have features for kitchen display systems or just kitchen receipt printers, so if you did want to do it in that fashion where the order is going to a kitchen, somebody starts pulling the orders ahead of time, that's a possibility too. So lots of different options in terms of features and functions and what we can do for you. Okay, any quick questions there?
Not quite now.
Okay, great. So what we'll do now is, to Rick's recommendation, is we'll go into the software, and we'll kind of really, as I understand it, one of your key things that you're most interested in is managing your food cost and getting a good handle on requisitions and reorder management and doing that in an effective way. So I'll focus and start there, and I know we've got about an hour set aside for the meeting today, and then we'll once we go through that, then we'll touch on the point of sale a little bit. Does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, great. So if you haven't seen the LSNav or Nav application before, this is a main landing page you would get into when you log into the software. And this is what are called a role-tailored homepage. And what that simply means is that you'll create, or the system comes out of the box with roles, and those roles are for purposes of doing different things for different roles within the organization. So for instance, in this particular case, we're looking at a retail store manager. Retail store manager would probably be interested in sales by cash register. If you have a larger store or multi-department store and you kind of want to see how your sales are by register, you would see those sales by register. And you can, by day, by week, by month, by quarter. Or store sales by hours, or store alerts. In this case, this year, last year sales, different messenger lists that you can send out to store managers for messages and notifications as well. So it's sort of their starting dashboard. And this is the same user interface that people at the head office that would be doing purchasing or accounting would have. And the purchasing manager would have a purchasing focused role page. The accounting manager would have an accounting focused role page. And maybe the owner of the company would have more of a CEO or president type role interface. And again, exposing or bringing to the forefront the things that are specific to their job role and responsibility. Okay? And when we are at the main home page and then we log into a department here. Now, the other thing I want to mention while I'm doing this is that you have the ability by role and responsibility to only expose those features and functions that are necessary for that person's job role and responsibility. So in this particular case, I'm logged in as a system administrator and we have basically everything turned on. So you'll see some of these menu items that don't necessarily apply to your business, or that for instance, like a store manager, you wouldn't want them necessarily having access to these features and functions. Depending on that job role, they'll only be exposed to the menu items that they have access to get to. Okay, so I just wanted you to kind of be aware of that. Again, as Rick mentioned, it's an all-in-one system, so you're not jumping in and out of different applications. You're not having to log into one application to do recipe and ordering, and then a separate application to do point of sale, and then a separate application to do accounting. Everything's all part of one system, and then being that's all part of one system, it has a consistent look and feel across all job roles and responsibilities. And of course, it has a seamless flow through the application. So like I'd mentioned earlier, when you do purchasing and you do a purchase receiving, it automatically is going to post into inventory and then create an accrued liability, and then the invoice will come in later and you'll do invoice matching, and then that'll create a payables transaction, and everything will be done once and you have one version of the truth throughout the entire system. Okay? I'm going to go into the back office and talk a little bit about how you can manage ingredients and recipes and purchasing. And there's actually a few different ways that we can do this. So I'm just going to go into the product design menu here. And so the base level for a recipe would be a hospitality item. So for instance, you know, if you're going to buy milk or butter or cream cheese or strawberries or whatever, that would be your base ingredient. And the base ingredient has, and I'll just open up this card for this butter here. This base ingredient has different units of measure, right? So you might buy it in a box and then you use it by the ounce or the gram in a recipe. So you have that relationship between being able to buy a box of butter and then consume it in grams or ounces, depending upon how your recipe is set up. Because this is all integrated with your purchasing and your accounting, when you buy that butter and you have a cost on that butter for your vendor, you will be updating that cost on that ingredient item as you purchase that item. So if in the case of butter, for example, right now we're using a first in, first out valuation method, but if you choose to use average costing, and one time you get that box of butter for $3 and then $3.25 and then $3.30, etc., it will continually update your true cost of inventory. So again, the key differentiator in terms of really getting a good sense of your costs and your profit for your different recipes. Okay? And then you can set up multiple vendors and a default vendor to purchase that from. There are some options for like optimizing. Let's say you can source something from 2 different vendors and one vendor has a better price. When you do the replenishment or the auto ordering and the requisition, it will select from the preferred vendor at the preferred price. So it has those capabilities. But if you have to get it from like a secondary vendor, then it provides for that capability as well. And so that's things at the ingredient level. Okay, so once you've got your ingredients set up and configured, and by the way, nutritional information is assigned in the form of attributes and nutrition on the ingredient level. So if an ingredient has nuts or gluten or something like that, and that butter has X amount of fat and calories and so forth, when you put that into a recipe, the recipe will inherit both the attributes and the nutritional information of that ingredient item. So let me show you a recipe here, some recipes. And unfortunately, I didn't have any baked goods recipes, but it's a similar process regardless if it's a baked good or some other type of recipe. And
sorry, John, to interrupt you. Can we go for the margherita pizza? That is one of the items that we're gonna do in the bakery.
Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that for you. One of the things before I go to that margherita pizza, though, that I do want to point out, and that's important, is that a recipe can be the base ingredients in the case of like brown sauce. So let's say you're making a strawberry compote of some kind, or you're making a peach cobbler filling that maybe is used, and the peach cobbler could be in a peach pie, or it could be that kind of peach sauce might be on the top of a Danish or something like this, and you have to produce first a sub recipe item, and then that sub recipe item becomes part of another item. In the case of like pizza, if you're making your own pizza sauce, you would have a recipe for pizza sauce, and then you would have, that would create a, X number of portions of pizza sauce, and then that pizza sauce would be part of your margherita pizza, right?
Yeah.
You get the idea there?
Yeah.
And in the case of brown sauce here, we see that it contains milk, salt, flour, and butter, right? And the way this works is you produce these in X number of portions. So let's say you have a recipe that is going to produce a yield of 48 biscuits. So you would have a recipe to produce 48 biscuits, and that would produce 48 portions. And then when you produce that recipe, then that will yield those 48 portions. That might be a finished item that you just sell as a finished item, or again, in the case of this brown sauce, this might be a portion that's then used as part of a plate. In this case, like a chicken with brown sauce plate. All right? Again, the important thing here to remember is the fact that this is going to inherit your cost of the milk, flour, and butter. So you will, when you produce or set up this recipe, then you'll be able to see what the cost is on that recipe. And right in this particular case, it's $2.37833 to produce this recipe. And again, that cost is 100% accurate based on your purchase cost of those ingredient items. And then again, when this brown sauce gets added to another plate, then it'll be whatever the cost of those individual items on the plate is, plus the cost of the brown sauce. So if you get a total plate cost of $3.75 and you sold it for $6, then you're going to get your 100% true profit margin on that. Okay? So we'll take a look at a pizza here. And now, there's a couple different ways that this can be done. In the case of, do you mind if I use this Hawaiian pizza while I'm here? Is that okay?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. So, you've got a crust, and again, this is a good example where, in this particular case, this crust is just an item that was acquired, but this crust, or the dough, could be a recipe that you produce that dough from scratch, and you probably do. And then you have the pineapple, the ham, the tomato sauce, and the cheddar cheese. Now, if you were producing, you're pre-making these, and then they're like pre-made, and then you're just warming them up as customers order them, this might be a good way to do it, right? Because there's no variant on those items. But do you pre-produce finished items that are warmed up, or do you make the order?
We make everything from the scratch.
Say again, please.
We make everything from the scratch, so we make everything from zero.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that, like, if do you have like a little, like a single serving pizza that are pre-made, and then you're warming it up or preparing it to order, or
Yeah.
do you like, or do you have just like things in a buffet style, and you're actually making the pizza to order as the customer orders it?
We probably are going to have the pizzas in certain time during the day. For example,
Okay.
at the lunch time, let's say. In that.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so the way this is set up right now is the notion that you're going to have a pre-made pizza. Maybe it'll be shrink wrapped or par baked, and then you're going to bake it rest away, or you're going to just heat it up to serve. In the case where you're making to order, the way it would work would be to have a, and I'm not sure if I got a good example here I could show you. I don't. But like in a case of like a pita, where you just start with a crust, and then you set up what are called modifiers, ingredient modifiers. So then you would say one modifier group would be meats, another modifier group might be sauces, another modifier group would be vegetables. And then the customer is essentially billing that item on the fly. So the only thing that might be in this base recipe is like the pizza crust. Everything else will be amended to that base recipe from a cost and a retail perspective as you add those items to the item when the customer orders it. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay. We also do you have like the necessity for routing through a kitchen, or does everything just kind of come in through an expediter window and it's produced and served like that?
Can you repeat again, please?
Do you have the need for kitchen display routing through a kitchen where you have multiple production stations that are routed, or does everything just come through with a ticket and it's called out and then they produce the food?
So basically, what our operation now is we bake every day a selection of food that will rotate during the day.
Yes.
So the customer cannot order nothing from the kitchen. They simply choose the items from the display.
Yes.
And then go to the cashier and pay, and then stay in the store, or they take it to go. In the future, we're gonna accept order online and for pickup, basically. So basically, yeah, the customer will be able to buy online certain type of items, and the kitchen will receive the order through a display, and they're gonna prepare the to-go package that eventually the customer will pick up on a certain time range.
Yes. Okay, so we do have the facilities and capabilities to do both ways. What I'm showing you now would be the notion where everything is like pre-baked and just it's a order, a finished item order that they're picking up. But I can show you another way in which, in the case of, let me show you this other item here, this chicken with brown sauce plate. Whereas if it's an order item where we start, with the chicken, wild rice, and brown sauce, which you saw earlier was a recipe item. And I'll show you when you go into the point of sale how you can deal with the modifiers and the make to order type of thing a little later in the presentation. Okay?
Okay.
So that's basically, recipe basics to start with. Now, there's couple different ways that you can do ordering. Do you I think Rick mentioned, or maybe where you have a commissary, or do you produce everything at the location?
In this moment, we produce everything in the location, and also with the new store, every store will have the laboratory inside the store. Later next year, we're going to have also commissary for delivery and catering.
Okay. Okay, good. So, and we do have the capability of managing those different scenarios. Let me show you something, and I'll show you a couple different ways that we can do this in the system. You know, and again, it's all based on the way you do business and the way you operate. But if I go back to my my recipes here, and oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. We'll go back to hospitality, and we go here, and we want to look at my hospitality items. One of the ways that you can replenish is with like a minimum and a maximum. So you could set off like, if I drop below a certain minimum level, I want to automatically do a reorder of my recipe item up to a maximum level. So I don't want to drop below this, and I don't want to buy any more than that. So you can have the system automatically just kind of reorder up to those par levels. And there's a replenishment worksheet that gets generated, and then you can execute a PO off of it. So that's one way to do things. Another way to order, and I know you wanted to really work at trying to control the way that people were buying, and you want to be able to review things. Another way to order is kind of like old school, where you create a purchasing worksheet for the store managers. And so, for instance, one moment. Okay, I don't have it set up here, but I'll show you on the requisition worksheet. Or here, let me go stock request. Okay, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can do one where it's analogous to like a piece of paper, where somebody's just writing down on a piece of paper, you know, butter, milk, whatever, and they want X quantities, and it's as simple as that. And that requisition worksheet is then available to the back office manager to review the worksheet and then trigger a purchase order off the worksheet. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is in a little bit more of a formal way, where again, somebody's putting in a quantity requisition and they're filling in this form, and then a manager, you know, you would send a request. Somebody would either accept or decline the request and then assign the request to purchase. So that would be another way that you can do your purchasing.
Basically, sorry to interrupt you.
No worries.
Basically, the way the people receive, for example, the chef of the store of Home Kitchen will receive this request is through an email, through an app. How does it work, the system?
Yeah, so what would happen was when they do that online request, or you know, on the system where they're filling out just the requisition of what they want, then the buyer in the back office, you could set it up where they would get an alert and say there's some open requests for fulfillment of these requests, and then they would just be able to review that worksheet and then post it. Let me show you something here, and I'll show you the last way we can do it, and then you'll be able to see the worksheet and see how they kind of look. Okay? So if the last way you can do it is more of a formulated way through what's called meal planning. And meal planning might be handy for, let's say, meal planning might be handy for, a lot of times they'll do that at a commissary type level. But again, if somebody's really planning out for the week what they want to produce, then you can use this meal planner effectively like that. Basically, the way this works is that you can have different meal plans So you can have like a breakfast meal plan, a lunch meal plan, and a dinner meal plan. And you would have a plan by location, and then you can plan by the month and the week. And the way this works is that you would put down the left side the things that you produce or that you're going to make for that week. So if you have all your standards and then you kind of roll in and out different things that you serve week to week, you can build out this meal plan. And then what you do is you say, I'm going to produce X amount of this item. So in this case, 30 carrot soup, 30 chicken with brown sauce, 30 roasted vegetables, and 30 apple pies. So the manager or the chef is trying to determine how many of certain things that they need to produce based on sales reports and just sort of what they feel is going to happen based on demand. Okay?
Okay. John, excuse me, going back a little bit, Tommaso wants to know how actually the chef can request the order. Is like the option like the chef at the kitchen can have, is going to have like a tablet with the app to request the order? Because it was actually the question.
Okay, so in this particular case of a meal planner, this would typically be done
I'm asking you about to request the inventory, like the items to the vendors.
I understand. So I'm going to show it to you here, and then I'm going to show you another option.
Okay.
Okay, so if I can just kind of finish up this one process, and then I'll show you another way you can do it. The idea here is somebody is doing more in a planning forecasting function. You know, I'm sitting down at my desk on a notebook computer or on a PC, and I'm looking at my week, and I'm trying to figure out what I got to produce for the week or what I got to produce for the day. So it could be Monday, and I could be going into Tuesday. I said, okay, tomorrow we're serving these items. How much do I need to make of each? Okay. Once they put in the quantities that they think that they need, then what you would do is come in here, and you would then put in create a requisition. And you could create the requisition for the week or for the day. So if you wanted to do it day by day, you can do it on a day by day basis. If you wanted to do it on a weekly basis, you would do it on a weekly basis. Okay? Now, when I just did that, if I go over here, and all I did was going back here again, and I apologize, I'm mindful at a time, so I'm bouncing around a little bit. But once you plan this out and you create this button, then that requisition's done for the chef or who's ever responsible for that requisition. And what happens then, if I look at requisitions here, the requisition worksheets, and here's the requisition worksheet that was produced by what that person that was planning just did. So just by clicking that button, it's automatically creating this worksheet that would be available to somebody in the back office or at a headquarter type role or responsibility, or maybe it's the person that's responsible for purchasing. Yeah?
So John, let me jump in here real quick. So this is Rick. So what we're seeing here, if I'm not mistaken, it's exactly where we're figuring out we want to make X number of tarts, we want to make X number of loaves of bread, we want to make X number of prosciutto sandwiches for tomorrow, and what do I need? And when you created those actual finished menu items, it just took all the ingredients and created this. So it gives you the actual explosion of all the things that you need to actually order in raw material.
Right. So we see here.
It's an amazing application, and then that turns into POs where he's going to show you that.
Right. So you got milk, butter, eggs, apples, carrots, broccoli, onion. So to produce all those items for that day, these are all the ingredients you need to order to produce those items for the day. And then basically somebody at the head office or again in that role or responsibility would then just go here and do produce the order, and then that would create a purchase order. And let's say this were multiple vendors that are necessary to produce this. This will produce a requisition by vendor or a purchase order by vendor.
Okay, and also I can see the location code, so it means that the person is going to make the order. It can be, let's say in this case, like the corporate office can make the orders by location.
Right, so this is, so right here is store number 1, location number 1. And then if you had, you know, a dozen locations, you would have all these locations. So this is going to do a requisition sheet by location. And then you would produce the POs necessary to fulfill that requisition, and the POs will get generated for you automatically. Okay?
Okay, and this this list of raw materials will go, you have the possibility to send directly to the vendor, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, when you produce a PO, you can just email the vendor the PO.
The beauty of this, Yasmir, and you'll have full control over which vendor you send it to. So now you know the cost, you've made the negotiation, and you're actually ordering it from those people. And you've taken away that responsibility. So the chef and the manager, store manager, are determining what needs to be there physically. You're determining the deals on your end, and you have full, so you're actually sending them out. And you could say, well, maybe, you know, maybe they forgot that it's a holiday and there's going to be some, you know, increased volume, and you can always edit it. So you have full responsibility there, yet it's producing all those documents individually, and then you can email them or you know, there's other electronic methods to send them to the vendors.
Right, you see here, yeah, we got the vendor item numbers, the vendor you're going to purchase it from, and on a line-by-line basis, you could select a different vendor. So in this case, there's vendor 44030 for these 2 items. This is vendor 44020. And maybe it's telling you to buy X amount, but you want to, like, say, you know what, I got to double that up, or I got to make an adjustment to allow for whatever reason you might want to allow for. And then that, again, would execute the PO right from this worksheet. Okay? Now, you have one other option, and you mentioned a mobile device, and let me show you this. So this is our mobile inventory app, and this mobile inventory app can be run on an Android or an iOS device. In this particular case, it's an iPad mini, but it could be an iPod Touch, it could be an iPhone, it could be an Android phone. That it's just a native app to that device. And one of the features, and I'll show you the mobile point of sale while I'm at it here, is we have the mobile point of sale. And so you have, in this particular case, the point of sale, but I would just switch over to inventory here, and then I'm going to go into the inventory side of the app. So let's say I'm working in the store location, and I'm doing like requisition management or order management, these kinds of things. I'm just going to log in. And so now I'm logged in. So there's a couple different things you can do here. One is under stock management. I can do positive and negative adjustments. So let's say it's the end of the day. I could say, you know, it's dropped by staff, or there was a best before date, so something expired, or, you know, milk went bad or whatever. And I could just touch here, and I could scan a barcode if one existed, or if I just type search for milk, and I got to mark a liter of milk out of stock. You can just keep a running track of stuff that you need to adjust out of stock, and then at the end of however you want to do that, you can just then say send all. And what that's going to do is that'll send a journal to the back office. Somebody will review that and then post it, and then that will produce a stock adjustment. So the store manager or an employee in the store, all they're doing right then and there is just doing like a stock adjustment, like a request for a stock adjustment. They're not actually doing the stock adjustment right on the spot. The other one here is where I can have a requisition worksheet. And this is, I think, kind of what you mentioned a little bit earlier, where you can set up multiple requisition worksheets. In this case, some general purchasing, some meat purchasing, or vegetable purchasing. And within this, let's say, I'm not sure what I have here, but okay, so we got onion. So they're saying, I need 12 kilograms of onions. Okay, and I need, and I know milk's not a vegetable, but, and I need, 12 liters of milk. So this is creating a requisition in a worksheet form. And again, that worksheet is going to then be, when you're done with whatever you're requisitioning and asking for on this mobile app, when they're done and ready to be done for the day, they just touch up here, send all, and then that's going to send that requisition worksheet to the back office, and somebody would be able to review that worksheet, amend the worksheet, edit it, and then accept it and post it and produce a purchase order. So you can do replenishment through mins and maxes, and that will produce a requisition or a replenishment requisition that can be reviewed and purchased. You can do it by meal planning, where the system knows by recipe how much you need to order based on the quantity you need to produce and the recipe for that item. Again, that's going to be another form of a requisition. And then the other way here is just simply, again, kind of old school requisition, where somebody's just saying, hey, I need to buy this stuff. And, some chefs, some cooks are more corporate or less corporate, as they say. So some people might be really comfortable with a very systematic way of doing it, or they might just like this old, like, hey, I'm looking at the shelf and I know what I need to order and I just want to put in my list and go back to baking.
That's exactly what we wanted to know. I mean, it's our operation in this phase of expansion will be pretty simple. There's going to be a central purchasing office department.
Yes.
That will handle the relationship with the single vendors and negotiate all the prices. The items that basically we will include in our master list, and I want to leave it the kitchen of every single store. I mean, the less that they have to deal with the vendor, the best is for us, of course. So basically, it's important to me that the chef of the kitchen can access from an app like the one that you show us, and be able at the end of the day of tracking the stock present in the store, and eventually make a request. The requisition, how this goes? Reposition.
Yes.
Okay, reposition list of the items that he needs to reorder for the week.
Right. So when I was I was showing you that app, and I went into that vegetable worksheet, and I said I needed to buy some onions and some milk, right? And I hit that send. So that chef or that cook or whomever is responsible for that at the restaurant, they're done. Now I'm in the back office, and my job is for that central purchasing responsibility. I see here store number 1 has a requisition in for 2 purchase items. So I can just click on this and go edit, and there's that onion, that 12 onions and that 12 liters of milk that chef just put in on their mobile app at the store, and I could be 100 miles away or 1,000 miles away in the back office. As soon as they hit send, this requisition is in the back office. Okay? And then at this point, as a person that's responsible for that, I could edit this if you felt it was necessary to do so. But at this point, they would just say accept, and then, where it's going to be purchased from, and then post it. And in this particular case, I'm not going to be able to show you this on screen, but I would just generate the POs and print the POs, okay? And so now I'm done, and I see here that I had 2 purchase worksheets, and my POs were created for that, those requisition items. It's that fast and easy.
Perfect. Is there a way for the store to basically double check at the delivery? So let's say you bought now milk and the onions, right?
Yeah.
So tomorrow the vendor will deliver to the specific store milk and onion.
Yes.
Let's say a different quantity from the one that they're supposed to deliver.
Sure.
How the chef can basically track this variation? Right.
Okay. So here I am back in the app. Okay. So if you're using the mobile app for the inventory management, one of the features here is your actual stock receiving. Wait a sec. Okay, here we go. So your stock receiving. So they would, if there were, I'm not sure, I have a PO here that I can draw from that's in the system already, but okay, here's one. So right from their app, they would see the POs that went in the system for their store. So like, and I don't have this connected right now for this demo environment, but so they did the requisition came in the back office, somebody purchased it. Now the delivery person is coming with the items to deliver against that original PO, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can just go in here and I can open up this PO, and I could go ahead and receive all, or I can go line item by line item and make exceptions if I needed to. So if I ordered a dozen eggs and they delivered 2 dozen, or I ordered a case and they ordered, sent me a half case, you would be able to do those receiving by exception through this mobile app. Now, if you don't use the mobile app, then they would just actually do it right here in the back office without the mobile app, and it's essentially doing the exact same thing, where I've got here and I'm doing receiving, retail receiving, and again, this is that same PO. This particular one doesn't have any items on it, but one moment, let me find something with. Okay, these are just a few things that were done without anything on them. Okay, so then they would have the PO, and then you'd have the items, and there's different ways that they can do receiving this way. You can do it just by scanning in the items. You can do what's called a leading receiving, where you put in like what was ordered, and then, or you can just put in the difference in what was ordered. So you look at the PO and there's, let's say, 40 line items, and you count them out, and there's only one line item on that entire PO with an exception. Then you can just go to that one line item that has an exception and enter in the exception. So the person that's responsible for this could either do it through this, just a regular receiving form, or through that mobile device. Both ways, and it does the exact same thing.
Yeah, the reason for which I'm asking about the app is that because most of the people that works in the kitchen or in general, maybe there's not have the skills to operate on a computer.
Sure.
So it's easy for them to operate from an app. But this leads me to another question: is this system cloud-based, or is you have to download a software?
It can be cloud-based. You can either implement it on your own servers in-house, or you can have it running in the cloud on a subscription, so you can do it a few different ways.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Let me
And this user interface I'm showing you now is running off like a desktop client, but it can be accessed through a web browser.
Perfect. Let me shoot you another question.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there is also a way to basically track the price, negotiate with the vendors of a specific item.
Sure.
And
yeah.
Right. So
you can set up vendor pricing and vendor agreements.
Okay, great. So one of the feature that we are looking for, because we saw in another system, and it's pretty useful, is the one connecting with the price of the items. So let's say we order the milk and the onion, and we agreed on a specific price with the vendors. The vendors, the day after, deliver these items, but with a price that is not the one agreed.
Okay.
So is there a way to basically create a warning that there is a discrepancy between the price agreed and the price received?
So in the system, because again, this is a key differentiator, much different than what you're used to or you're going to see in a lot of restaurant-focused systems. Keep in mind that we're doing everything in an ERP system or an accounting-based solution. So when you do that original receipt, and remember you wrote a PO, let's say it's $10 for a box of something. That's what the dollar amount on that original purchase order was for that particular line item. When the person at the store does the receiving, they're not responsible for that price differentiation, or you may not even want the cost price to show on the PO at the location level, but you may not even want the people to know what price you're paying for stuff, right?
Right.
So they're just going to do a receiving, and that initial receiving is going to be received at the original purchase order price, the purchase order price that you sent in. Now, let's say a week later you get your vendor invoice. Because it's part of an ERP or an accounting application, then you're going to have three-way invoice matching. So you're going to open up that PO receipt and you're going to say, okay, $10. Here's my invoice that's for $10.50, because that accounting person's responsibility is to make sure they're getting invoiced for the proper price that it was purchased at. If there's a purchase price variance at that point in time, then that's when they're going to see, oh, we ordered it at 10, but I'm getting billed $10.25. So that person that's doing that invoice matching is the one that would then either accept that purchase price variance or contact the vendor and say, hey, you know, my chef sent this in at 10, I'm getting billed 10.25. We're not going to pay 10.25, we're going to pay 10. So there's, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be the worker in the store that's going to create an alert. The system is just automatically going to be, you know, this thing that keeps popping up in the corner down here, just disregard that. It has nothing to do with the software. I'm in a demo.
No, don't worry.
Sorry about that. But do you understand?
Yeah, no, perfectly. In fact, I don't want the people of the kitchen keep tracks of this thing, because eventually they don't even know about the price. So
that's it.
Just wanted to know if there is a way that the system has to eventually upload the invoice or receive the invoice and match directly with the item, with the price item that you have in the system.
Well, and here's a key thing, and again, the way you're asking these questions is very common with the people we talk to, because they're so used to working with multiple systems. There's nothing to upload. It's all part of one system. When you saw when I did that worksheet adjustment on the mobile app, that is writing that adjustment directly to the worksheet in the back office. There's no uploading, there's no synchronization, there's no updating going on at all. It's just straight up. And again, when they're doing the receiving, we keep it really super simple, you know, or if I'm doing stock adjustment and I need to do a negative adjustment and I need to, you know, again, I've got a bottle of milk that went bad here. I'm just going to do this. This is all I got a bottle of milk went bad. I'm going to send that into the office. That person's job at the store is done. Somebody in a management role and responsibility or in accounting is going to review those adjustments and post them. And because they get to see those adjustments as they're coming in, then you have kind of a management control function built in, and they're just going to post it straight through to accounting. Same thing on that receipt. They're just going to receive like, hey, I got in, here's my PO, I got in 20 pounds of onions. And I just do a receipt, you know, save it, send it, I'm done. I don't know anything about nothing about price, invoices, what it was bought at. I just need to get the stock on my shelf and start baking.
So basically you're saying that we're not going to receive any more from the vendors an invoice for the specific order we just made and delivered to the store, because everything is in this system. Because the moment that we create a PO and we send to the vendors the day after will deliver what we ask in the PO, and then the chef will make eventually the adjustment about the quantity, and everything remain within the PO system, the PO order that stays in our system, right?
Well, and again, let's not talk about it like two systems. It's one system. It's just that their area of responsibility and their user interface for the system is through this mobile app with a very simplified process for them to do. But it's one system.
So, let me jump in here real quick. This is Rick. So Tommaso, what John's saying is absolutely correct. In other words, in this ERP system, your office is creating a purchase order based on the most recent prices these people have given you. Every time they give you a new price, you're going to be able to download that information and upgrade your cost to fit that current cost. And if you're sending them a PO with a cost on it and they accept it, that's their deal. They can't come back a day later and say it's more. I know they do, but I'm saying they legally should not. And you have full responsibility. Now, the other advantage of this is you're going to be able to track the cost of every item, every purchase item from every supplier forever. You can match it up day by day, week by week, as things change. And so you're going to have a season. You're going to be able to develop, okay, seasonally, these tomatoes cost more, these strawberries cost more, and you're going to know these things, and you know them already. I know that, but this is going to give you an alert and a way to match that up, and then compare vendors, you know, easily to be able to match one against the other and see who's doing the best. And so that's what we're saying. You have full control on that, and that really puts it back at the office where you want it to be. And your operations people are making the stuff they do. They should not have to be negotiating prices unless they want to, unless you want them to, but they should not have to be doing that. That's your job.
Okay, so it's perfectly. Thank you for the support. It's exactly what I have in mind. I mean, it's in this moment. Of course, the operation is slightly different because we may order on pretty much on daily basis, but let's say we made order directly to the vendor on weekly basis, and the vendors, the moment they deliver the item that we requested, they leave an invoice about the item, so the kitchen staff check the quantity of the items delivered, and then the invoice goes directly to the accounting office, and they process the payment. They put the invoice in QuickBooks and they process the payment. So we have to double check if the price is correct, because it depends on the system of the vendor, not on our system. In this from this perspective, it's totally inverted. It's totally different because we created the purchase order and the vendor has to accept the purchase order, right?
Right. So if we look here and we're in the departments list and you did the requisition, the purchase order gets executed. And then again, we're all in the same system here. As soon as you do that stock receiving, it creates a stock receipt with an unmatched payables invoice. And then what you've done is just go, you'd have purchasing invoices, right? And I don't have any here, but you'd have a purchase invoice, and then you'd get the invoice from the vendor, and you're going to do invoice matching, and that's where you can then, you know, call your vendor and say, hey, you know, we ordered it at 10, you invoiced me at 10 1/4, what's going on? And here's a really key element is, let's say for some reason that person at whoever created the PO was advised of a price increase and they just didn't put it in the system for some reason, and you had to accept that change in price. It will go back to that original receiving and update that receiving price with a invoice matching adjustment. So again, you retain that accuracy, that true accuracy in your cost in the system. And you're just doing all these things once, and you've got full visibility and traceability from that original requisition to the PO, to the PO receipt, to the invoice matching, to the payable to the vendor. It's all completely and seamlessly integrated end-to-end in one system.
Okay. What about the payment?
So I think Rick suggested that Maurice kind of take you through the accounting focused part of the meeting as a separate meeting when your accountant's around. So if I could suggest for our time today with me, it's leave that invoice matching, payables, and all of that to a separate meeting with your accountant and Maurice, and then I could kind of focus on talking a little bit about POS. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll work, and we'll set it up with you guys whenever you want to do that, and then you can see kind of that part of it, right, the accounting piece, because that's really cool. But this is interesting because now we've taken it all the way to the point of operations, getting the food, being able to produce, and the ordering, which is the daily things that you use so much of. So I'm gonna let him jump in to do the rest. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and I got way more exciting things to show you than payables. Accounting's kind of boring, but no. So
at the end of the day, it's the one that pay salaries. No, it's like
accounting's a very important part of your business. Don't take me wrong, but yeah, we'll let Maurice kind of take you through those accounting basics. So on I think Rick, we said we originally planned an hour, but we can go another 30 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you want, sure, whatever you need to do. That's fine. I've got a hard stop at 5:30. We moved the meeting back a little bit, but that I understand. We had more time earlier, and we have to accommodate everybody, right? So you guys had something big going on, which is probably way more important than this. So we appreciate your time, and however we can get it. So
Do you folks want to take a little time to cover like the purchase, the POS and how that looks and functions?
Yeah.
Tomas?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, you want to proceed with that?
Yeah, no, how much time you need?
I can take as much or as little time as you want to give me.
No, sure. Just to understand, because I think we have, Jasmine, how much we have? Like half an hour more? Or
I don't know the time that you need. We need to see. No, I
Sure.
apologize for the delay, but something else.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, I have a hard stop at 5:30, but let's do this. As far as let John run you through some of the point of sale, and I think the exciting part of that is him showing you some of the mobile, like how would you do an app for customers to order ahead, things like that. So that's kind of exciting, and then we'll take it from there, because POS can be anything you want it to look like. literally. So, okay.
Listen, today, here's the thing. We wanted to kind of give you an overview and an introduction of what's possible. And I don't think Rick or I expected you to make a decision based on what you see in 90 minutes. So we're just kind of using this as an introduction. And if you need to circle back and spend more time on a specific subject, of course, we'll do that. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. So when we come to point of sale, there's a couple different point of sale options and a couple different things. And while I'm here, I'm going to just pause this for just a moment. And I'm going to bring back my my mobile app here. So just bear with me for a second. Okay, so here we go. So remember, we're in this mobile inventory app, but right from here I can switch to POS. And now I'm into a POS or a selling. So there's a traditional POS, which you see here in the background, which would run either on a tablet or on a conventional POS. And then you have a mobile POS, which could run on an Android or an iOS device. And again, this mobile POS might be really good for line busting and that type of thing. So unfortunately, I don't have one set up that's food focused, but I think you still get the idea here. So if I just want to go ahead and do a sale, I can just come in here, and there's a couple different ways that I could select items to put into a sale. So I could either have images of items here, so I could just touch this item and touch that item and add it to the sale. Or if somebody were to, like, they wanted a apple, so like an apple crisp, and they wanted to add an apple crisp to the sale. That would be another way you could do it. Or, of course, if you had a barcode, but in your case, that wouldn't be the case. So I've just quickly added these items to the transaction. And when I go ahead to touch the total, if there's a deal or an offer or a special price, it would calculate. And I could either pay cash right away, or I could pay with a card, or I could suspend the transaction. If I suspend the transaction, then I could just put a person's name on it, like that, John. And then when the customer gets up to the cash register, then the person at the register, either through the regular point of sale or even through another mobile app, would recall the transaction there, okay, and bring it up and then complete the sale. The other features of this POS is the fact that you can also do like customer lookup for loyalty customers and see loyalty customers and any benefits or points that they have. I could do an item lookup and see, like on the Apple Crisp, and I could see like a stock. So I've got some in stock, so I could see how many I have left. So let's say you're waiting online and they say, hey, do you have any cinnamon bagels left? You say, okay, hold on a sec. So right from there on the mobile device, they would be able to see how many are left in stock. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you can do that right from the point of sale. So those are all things you can do with the mobile point of sale. Okay? Now, the other thing that we offer is a customer app that a customer would go to either the Apple, App Store or the Android store, and they would download your app. Okay, so there would be a Rosetta Bakery app that they would pick up, and so they would have like a loyalty app like this, and this would be skinned with your colors, fonts, look and feel for your items. And this is where a customer would have their name. Maybe they're different point levels for you. Maybe that you buy 10, get one free, or maybe you want to send offers and coupons out to the customer. So they would be able to see like coupons, for instance. You want to send them a coupon or I think an offer. We got some food ones here. Yeah. So like you could have a coffee and cake offer. and say, this is valid until this particular date or time, and then the customer would be made aware of these through offers that you send out to them on their mobile app. But right from here, if the customer wanted to go ahead and, order something ahead of time, then things can be organized here by desserts and things of that nature, and I could go in here and I could do an apple crisp. And let's say I wanted to order ahead and pick up that apple crisp at the restaurant. I could just say I want to order this, and it's got a description of the apple crisp, and it's got the price and a picture. So I could go ahead and just add that to my basket and then go ahead and check out. And right here, I can use this app in a couple different ways. Number one would be I could do a delivery. So let's say you do deliveries to an office in the area or something like that. You could have somebody do an order for delivery to an office, or in this case, like click and collect, where I'm saying, I'm going to, and again, it would have some proximity capabilities, but I just want to go ahead and order it and pick it up from this location. So I'm going to place my order, yeah? And then when the customer comes into the restaurant, that order would be ahead, and they would just pick up that order. Now, a couple of the other things here is I can look at my history of things I bought in the past. I could even pre-list some things maybe I want to buy. So maybe I'm having a party and I want to add some things, and then I could just add that to my cart as it comes up. And then, of course, you can have your contact information. But again, the key thing here I want you to know is that this could all be customized with a different color, look, and feel for your location. Okay?
This is Rick. Let me jump in here real quick. So what I was emphasizing with Yasmir is that we are really focused on, NLS Retail is really focused on bringing more business in the door. So we talked about efficiencies, we talked about saving money on costs, we talked about creating prices based on the cost so that you get the margins you want. This, and I understand you have a very good problem, you have people waiting outside. So the fact that you can line bust and go out and take orders and the people on the line, and you can have people order ahead and pick up, is going to speed up and make more sales for you. And I know you realize that, but this is really slick to be able to do that. And so we want to bring more business in the door per location.
Yeah.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for that point. The other thing, so now I'm into, and I know I'm moving fast, so I hope you guys are keeping up okay. Interrupt me if I lose you. But now I just wanted to show you real briefly the mobile point of sale. We have the mobile app to, for customers. You can do marketing and order ahead, pick up, and all the things Rick was just saying. But now if I'm into more of a traditional type POS, and this POS can run on a regular traditional counter type POS or on a mobile tablet. So it can work both ways. And I'm just going to go ahead and log on. And the key thing here is that you can have just about an unlimited number of layout looks and feels depending upon how that particular POS might be working. Let's say you have a POS that's set up for order ahead and pickup orders versus just your over-the-counter sales like a coffee shop style. So let's say it's an order ahead pickup. So I'm going to just open up this particular POS, and this might be an order ahead pickup. So let's say my name is Tom, and I come in and say, hey, I'm here to pick up my order, and you say, okay, great. And all they would need to do is touch collect. Now, in this particular case, when the order comes in, the first thing I need to do is to see my orders that I need to produce. So I'm going to go ahead and produce this order, confirm it, yes. And I'm going to go ahead and there's another order. So these are all my orders coming in, right? And so I'm going to confirm that order and get it ready for the customer. And here comes another order. I'm going to go ahead and pick that, and that's the apple crisp order I just put in a minute ago. And I'm going to confirm that. So all these orders are pulled together and waiting for the customer to come in and pick them up now. All right? So now when I put in my name is Tom and I'm here to collect my order, okay, it's not, it's, let me see here. Oh, you know what? I put it to a different customer name. So, but that order would just be there and they would pick it up and then bring it into the transaction, complete the sale, and they could add additional items to the sale through the POS at that time if you wanted to. Okay? So that would be like an order ahead pickup, and here you can do special orders for customers, and you can, you know, like a catering order, and you can do all sorts of stuff more in this kind of look and feel. If I then go ahead and just exit out of this transaction, and one of the things you can do, you can print to a receipt, you can email receipts, but if I go into this other point of sale, which is more what we call a coffee house layout, same exact point of sale we just saw, but it's configured look layout to be more like cafe or quick service food oriented. So in this particular case, we have, you know, it comes up here where we've got cakes, and we can go ahead and a chocolate croissant and a piece of pecan pie and a chocolate cake, and you can just do cash and $5.70, cash the customer out. We could send an email receipt if we wanted to provide that option, or just turn that off. And it's that quick to ring up an item. We also have what are called offers, and these offers can be, let's say, a coffee and cake offer. Okay? So you hit the coffee and cake offer, and the first thing is saying, well, what kind of coffee do you want to offer the customer as part of that offer? So you can either have hot coffee, a latte, or an espresso for $2.50 as part of that offer. So I can just say, go ahead, a cold coffee, and then which dessert do you want? And I want a carrot cake slice. Okay? So then that is going to sell those two items at $2.50. And it's going to relieve the inventory of that cake by one slice, and the coffee based on that coffee recipe. So again, if it's a latte and it's X amount of espresso and X amount of milk, when you sell that coffee or that latte, it's going to relieve the inventory based on that item's recipe. Okay?
Okay, is this the actual screen that will appear on the POS system in the store?
Yes.
Okay, so the cashier, for example, log in, and which is the dashboard, the first...
Okay, so normally you'd walk up to a POS and it would be in this login view, right? So they would, and we also have staff management capabilities, but in this particular case, the POS is just turned on and it's waiting for somebody to come walk up and use it. So they would just log on, and you can log in with an ID and a password or a card swipe. In this particular case, in this demo environment, I've just got these quick links where I can go in and out of these different layouts, look and feel. It wouldn't normally look like this in the real world. And then I just log in, and now I'm into the point of sale. I'm ready to start serving guests.
Okay.
Okay. Now, one of the things you asked about earlier was like building a pizza to go. And so one of the things I can do is search for items. And I'm going to go ahead and select this wrap pita, 9-inch wrap pita. And then this is where you've got an item like Subway style, where you're just going in and you're selecting the bread and then what kind of things that you're going to put into that Subway sandwich. In the case of a pita, we're saying, okay, we're going to start with a 9-inch wrap. So if I were to look at this in the back office, all I would see would be a 9-inch pita bread with nothing else in it, but with modifiers grouped under meats, sauces, and vegetables. And under the meat category, I've got, these are the things I can put in here: ham, tenderloin, pepperoni, chicken, grilled chicken. And it may be difficult for you to see over here, but in the lower left-hand corner, it shows the cashier what the price is for each one of these items. So ham is $1.20, grilled chicken's $1.50. Okay? So they select what meat. So I want ham. And then you say, what type of sauce would you like? And you see the sauces are no charge. So I want to go with let's say a mustard sauce. And then which kind of vegetables would you like? So I want zucchini, corn, onion, and tomato. Okay, and lettuce. And I click OK. And then that brings in that pita sandwich, which has got a base price of $3.13. The ham was $1.20. And in the case of this item, we're saying that you can have up to 3 vegetables at no charge. And if you want additional vegetables, those are $1 each. Okay? But when you look at the sale of this item, you're just going to see this wrap pita at $3.13. As a matter of fact, let me cash this out, and I'll show you the receipt. What that's done is that's relieved that item of that base inventory of that pita bread, and then it's consumed the inventory of those add-on items at the cost that you bought those at. And again, if I look at the receipt now, I can see here that I paid $3.13 for the pita, $1.20. Here's all the items that went onto that pita wrap. And because I got more than the minimum, you know, the 3 that are included at no charge, I'm starting to charge $1 a topping. So like in the case of like a pizza, you say you get a 3-topping pizza for $10. And so you put in, you know, ham, cheese, and onion, it's $10. If you add a 4th ingredient, then you charge for those additional ingredients based on whatever price you want to charge for those additional ingredients. All right?
Okay.
So that's a super quick overview of the POS and some of the flexibility, and there's actually quite a bit more. I mean, I can do extra toppings, I can exclude ingredients, I can do to stay to go, and that'll charge different tax codes for these different things. I could set up, you know, again, put a member into the, and recognize a member for points into the transaction, so then that person's going to get a credit for that sale. I can have frequent purchase, you know, transactions. I can also, and I'm just going to void this transaction real quick. I also wanted to show you, if you remember, you know, when we're suspending transactions, this is where I can get that suspended transaction and retrieve it. And this is from a different POS, but we can pull up those suspended transactions, cash the customer out, and we're done with that transaction. So you can just see how quick, efficient this is. We've done a lot of work around, you know, again, some of the things we've done a lot of work around is where we have these offers. You'll notice that these pop up and the background grays out and draws the cashier's attention to the main screen and what they need to work on. We found that that was really important from a usability perspective. And then when we go back to the screen, then that goes away, and then you're back to focusing on that. And then again, when you cash out, pops up, draws your attention to the next item they need to do, background grays out, and cash the customer out. And we're on to the next transaction. Okay, I think I'm about out of time for today. Is there any high-level questions you may have had or that I could answer for you?
No, I think we're pretty much, it's a great overview of the system. We mostly answer to all our questions. And yeah, we just missed to see the accounting point of view, how we generate payment to the vendors, but except from that, I think it's good to go.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to just make one last point before I leave because it's an important one. Again, the main focus, and we said it several times during the meeting today, is that this is one system, and to just kind of reaffirm that, when I hit this Run Client, this is actually just a point of sale user interface client designed specifically for point of sale. But I'm working directly in the system on this client, but I'm isolating the user of the system to only point of sale activities. So when I'm doing these sales throughout the day and I'm making these sales, that information is continuously updating to the back office. I don't have to wait to the end of the day to look at my sales or do some sort of end-of-day posting process for purposes of seeing sales throughout the day. I can get live information throughout the day for my back office. And again, so if I'm sitting in the head office and I want to look at my store sales by hour, I'm able to see my store sales by hour throughout the day because that point of sale is part of that same system.
Yeah, Tommaso, we could actually set you up an app for your mobile management ability. So when you have more than one store, especially, and you have to focus on many different things and you're traveling, you're going to be able to pop in and see how we're doing everywhere. You're going to have your own little business intelligence piece that you're going to be able to look at, as will any other manager that's, needs to have that. But the ownership should have, what are we doing today and how much did we sell? What was it like yesterday? You go away for the weekend, you can see everything. And you can actually tone into anybody's register and stuff and look at their work if you want to. So you have full capacity to be very, very oversight conscious, which is great.
Yeah, I agree 100%. This is exactly the point.
Yeah, and to Rick's point, I can show you it right here. I'm actually going to close this down. Sorry. And so like this is my iPhone. So I'm here, I'm walking down the street. You're enjoying the day at the beach. You're probably not enjoying a day at the beach if you're thinking about work, but you get the idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, but right here on my app, I can keep an eye on what's going on in the store. So all those things you just saw on that dashboard in your PC at your desk, you can keep an eye on what's going on. I can go here, I can look at information, I can see those worksheets, what people are requisitioning. I can go back to my home page, I see like a couple POs that are expiring today, and I could call somebody and say, hey, what's going on with the POs? So right from your pocket, anywhere you're at, you can gain access to your business and what's going on in it.
So that's great. This is the business owner.
Could be a store manager, could be anybody.
Okay.
It depends on who you give access to it.
Right. But you also have a full staff management piece in here. You can set roles, you can schedule, all kinds of stuff. And if you decide to branch out into a different style of venue, or even a gift shop if you want to do, we have this is full retail, everything, but you have full fine dining capability too. So if you decide to have that cute little courtyard restaurant, you can have reservations, delivery management, everything. There's so many pieces to it, but like we start out with one piece, phase one, and I think I put that in there, where we start out with the ordering process and paying the bills, and we set up the base so it replaces QuickBooks and does the heart of accounting and allows people to have access to order from the stores. That's first. Then we bring in the store POS, and as you open up your new store, then we can take the existing equipment or some new equipment, and I sent you some pictures of that. Pioneer has some awesome pieces, and and this will all run, even a lot of times when there's no power. If you've got power backup, it'll sync itself all back up. If the internet goes down, there's a bad storm coming. I mean, we all live in Florida, right? I live up in Sarasota. We don't have earthquakes. John's got earthquakes where he is out there in California. We're here with hurricanes, right? Sacramento. I apologize. Sacramento doesn't have earthquakes.
We get wildfires here.
Yeah.
All right. No earthquakes, just fires.
Fires. Well, that's terrible, right? So thank you, guys. Is there any other quick question, or I'll call Yasmir and then we'll set up a time for your accountant as soon as you want. So I can set that up Thursday and Friday, or we can do Monday, whatever you like to do. I think they need to see some stuff, and that would be well worth having somebody, because it is an accounting system for accountants. It really is.
Okay. Great. Last question, guys. So from the POS system point of view, the system works on every, I guess, tablet. How do you set up the cashier, the physical cashier?
As far as what
John, you want to answer that?
The system?
Yeah, if he's going to run on a tablet, how do you take cash and all? I mean, those will hook up to, those can be part of a, like you can take a tablet base now, and there's a mount for it, and it sits there, and you can have a cash drawer with it, a printer, all working off Bluetooth,
You guys provide also the equipment, like the printer, the EMV?
We do, yeah. That's our job, yes. We do that part, yes. We do all those.
So
we sell all that stuff. Pioneer and HP products, yeah.
All right.
Okay, Jasmine, she's saying that she has the list of the equipment that you provide, so I'm gonna review with that. Perfect.
All right, well, good. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Really.
Thank you, John.
Amazing.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Yasmir, I'll call you tomorrow then. Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. God bless. Have a good night.
Bye. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.